Welcome again to Healthy Kingston. My name is Janet Wade, and I will be your host for what I hope you'll find to be a very interesting program. As we all know, it's the holiday season, and we celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa. But it's also a time for reflection and introspection at the end of the year, along with giving and reaching out to others. With that in mind, we'll be discussing spirituality and its impact on our physical and emotional well-being, followed by a discussion on how doing good things does your body good, and wrapping up with how we as residents of Kingston have many opportunities for doing good this holiday season and all year round. One of them is caring for the homeless by supporting Plymouth Area Coalition, which is located at 149 Bishops Highway in Kingston. But before we get into the full program, I would like to introduce again this month Arthur Boyle, who is the health agent for Kingston. Welcome, Arthur, and good to have you back.
Nice to be here for the third segment.
Exactly, we're moving right along here. If you could give us an update as to what's going on in Kingston health-wise and what we should be aware of this time of the year, that would be great.
Well, believe it or not, we're at holiday time already. It seems like time has just flown by.
It has.
I came to Kingston in the summer in August, and it just seems like the fall has gone by and we're into the holiday lighting, and that's one of the things I want to talk about is holiday lighting and the safety. That we all had our parents who told us not to use extension cords and things, and people still use them and abuse them, and
Right.
you know, it can be a dangerous thing. But thin ice is something people don't think about because you don't all live on the waterfront, and not everybody has a pond or a stream behind their house, but many people do. And
Right.
thin ice is thin ice no matter whether you're 100 pounds or 200 pounds.
You're
If
absolutely
you're going to
right.
go through, the water is cold, and it doesn't take long before it just grabs onto you. So, you know, we tell the kids, you don't have to stay off the ice. If your parents are there, or somebody, if there's an adult, or there's somebody who's able to help you if you, heaven forbid, fall through the ice.
Right.
But you've got to be smart about it. And, you know, I tell my own kids and my grandchildren the same thing. We're around bodies of water. You've got to respect the possibilities and be prepared for the possibilities.
Absolutely, and the black ice too. That can
Right.
be very, very disruptive and very upsetting if your car is sliding on it.
Well, that's it. And people say, oh, I have four-wheel drive. And I said, that only means you're going to have 4 tires sliding instead of 2.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Everyone has to be aware of that and slow down.
Yeah, you know, you'll get there just as quickly as you will if you're going 5 or 10 miles an hour slower. You'll get there 2 minutes later and you won't have missed much.
Exactly.
But the other thing I wanted to talk about was heating system vents. With the new modern equipment, they have venting that goes out the side of the house instead of up the chimney. And it goes out through the side foundation or through the first floor oftentimes. And those are the things we forget when we snow blow the driveway, and you know, you fill
Right.
up
Good call.
the area next to the house, and you've all of a sudden you've blocked the emissions you know, hole, and
Right.
that's something that you've got to really be careful of. And then ticks, it seems like we talk about ticks every time we get together, but with the deer population as inflated as it is now, ticks are a big problem over the winter. The ticks get on the deer, they go for a little ride, and when they suck up all the blood that they're capable of holding, they drop off and they get into the leaves and into the ground, and
on pets and
yeah,
that are coming in
on
your
pets.
house. And
yeah, well, you know, you got a little sparky you got to keep
Right.
an eye on.
Absolutely.
And it's very frightening when you think about what a little thing like that can do, that you can barely see it at the tip of your finger.
Right.
And they can do so much harm.
So check yourself when you come in.
So at
that's
the
for
risk
sure.
of sounding like my mother, stay off the thin ice, be careful about where you shovel the snow and pile the snow, and be careful of ticks. And
Well,
enjoy
think
the
of the
holiday
service
lighting.
you're doing. Think of the service you're
Yeah, my
doing for all
mom
the
would be
mothers
proud.
of Kingston. Yeah, and your mother would be proud, right? Right. And watch when you put your Christmas lights on, as you were saying.
That's right. We have
Yeah.
ours up already. Helen is one of those people that when Thanksgiving Day is over, Christmas season starts.
Oh, I know what you mean. Well, this weekend for me, I'll be getting them up too.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, I wish you
thank
happy
for the
holidays.
Words. You too. You too.
Thank you.
And thank you for your words of wisdom.
All right.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, this is a very special time of the year. It's a time when we celebrate It's also a time of introspection and reflection about the past year, maybe where we are in our lives, what's going on in our lives. So with that in mind, we decided that it would be appropriate to talk about ourselves, our spirituality, and how we can help to be a light for ourselves in looking at where we are in life and where we might be headed. So I couldn't help but think that an area expert on this topic is Barbara Ward. Barbara has a master's in holistic counseling from Lesley College. She's an Imago relationship counselor. She has a 500-hour certification as a professional Kripalu yoga instructor, and she is the owner and founder of the YogaConnection in Plymouth, where she is also a yoga instructor and has been for quite a few years, and basically a household name in this area. So very happy to have Barbara here today. And Barbara, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for the kind words. And I'm honored to have you as a friend and a yoga student.
Thank you. I feel the same way. What I wanted to start the conversation with is, what do you see as spirituality? What would be your definition?
Well, you know, there's a definition that everybody can look up in the dictionary, but on a personal level for me, it's just about an attitude and a concern for spreading loving kindness, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness in the world. But it has to start with ourselves. So that's why personal practices like yoga and meditation help to cultivate that idea of feeling good about yourself. And the better we feel about ourselves, the more connected we become with sharing those intrinsic values that I think you could sum up by, like the Dalai Lama says, it's love. It's about feeling love. And you can't feel love for other people if you don't feel for yourself. And you probably have heard me say that more than 1,000 times. But it's the idea of, with those traits, with that sensibility, that we kind of get rid of the sense of the other and we develop a sense of oneness. And in today's world, where we're so fragmented and we're being pulled in so many directions, to just stay focused on loving kindness, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness for ourselves, but definitely forgiveness for others.
Other people. Well, just from what you're saying, I can certainly pick up on how this could affect one's health, but I'd like to hear from you. How you feel this attitude and this mindset can affect your physical and your emotional health.
Well, the whole sense of mindfulness, yoga, which are all the same thing really, is the idea that we're connected, mind, body, and spirit. All right, and spirit can be another word for soul, or spirit can be just, when we say someone has great spirit, we're talking about energy. So if we can adapt those attitudes of kindness and compassion and understanding, those are healthy things. And when we practice those feelings and sharing them, it has to have a positive effect on the trillions of cells we have in our bodies, because everything we think or do or say, we internalize. It's the food that keeps us going. I think that the practices that I'm most involved in are not going to cure anybody, but there's a difference between curing and healing.
Right.
And healing, I feel like loving kindness, being a spiritual person is like being able to touch someone with love, just with your hand. Even touching someone is healing. And the thoughts that we could offer, or prayers, and prayers don't necessarily have to be to a deity, because spirituality does not necessarily involve a god or gods,
right,
any more than religion doesn't always include spirituality.
Right. So this has nothing to do with organized religion whatsoever.
No, there's no dogma, there's no hierarchy. Most of us are spiritual people. Some of us don't know it, but most people who are kind and take good care of themselves are the kind of people that share that with other people. And it's like a salve that you put on a wound. That doesn't mean it's going to heal it, but it makes it feel better. It alleviates some of the suffering.
Absolutely. I mean, I hear this over and over and over again at the yoga classes I've taken over the years, and I felt it myself. Walking away feeling de-stressed, relaxed, capable, able to go on. It puts you in a wonderful place. Also, I feel emotionally, also physically, it has done a lot for my balance, for my muscle strength. I imagine, can you speak to these two things?
Well, but that's the practice, the physical practice, but I'm always stressing that you can't work with the body if you're not working with your mind and the spirit too. And then to me, the ultimate spirit is the fact that the word spirit in many languages is the same word for breath. And the bottom line is it is breath, the spirit, life force that keeps us together, keeps us connected.
So with that in mind, can you give us, well, you talked about breath, and I know you've mentioned to me that that's very important.
Right.
So how can we practice our spirituality?
Well, actually, in my psychotherapy practice, I usually give people a rubber band to put on their wrist. And when they feel detached or stressed, I have them just snap the rubber band against their wrist and wake up and stop. And it's scientifically proven that even just stopping for 3 conscious breaths, in other words, you don't even have to close your eyes. You just have to stop. You have to breathe in.
Can you demonstrate for all of us?
Well, you can close your eyes if you want, Janet.
Okay.
All right, so you know you're breathing right now. Just feel your breath. And now just breathe in as completely as you can without effort, and then just breathe out slowly. And there's no right or wrong here. So whenever you're ready, just breathe in your second breath. And breathe out as slowly as you can, because of the parts of the breath, the exhalation is the most important thing. And every time you breathe in again, you're starting your life again, because your breath is your life force. So breathe in and breathe out. And generally, just in those 3 breaths, everybody kind of settles down. And we feel a little more relaxed. In yoga,
I certainly do.
In yoga, we call that prana. So you're taking in the energy surrounding you and from other people. But we share our breath. And whether we're in the yoga class or not, every time you breathe, someone else is breathing in that breath. So again, to me, the whole spiritual thing is getting away from the sense of other and realizing the oneness. And breath actually kind of illuminates us from the inside out. And I always talk about honoring the light inside ourselves. Because until you can feel your own light, you can never really recognize it in other people. And I think I gave you a quote. Now, I hope people know that Buddhism is not a religion, it's philosophy. That Buddha said, light your own lamp, and the lives of others will be illuminated effortlessly.
I love that. That's certainly a perfect way to end.
Yes, and to look at everyone, ourselves and everyone else, as light bearers.
That was great. Thank you so much,
you.
Barbara. I really appreciate you being here.
It was an honor for me to share this with you. Thanks.
Thank you. So you've heard about the statistics, but now I'd like to bring this home to our own community and put a face on these statistics. So I've asked Sue Giovanetti, who's the Executive Director of Plymouth Area Coalition for the Homeless, to join us today to tell us about their mission and the wonderful work that she and the staff are doing here in Kingston for the homeless. So very nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Could you tell us first about the mission?
So the Plymouth Area Coalition is really a series of programs, but at the heart and core of what we do is the staff of the Plymouth Area Coalition is extremely dedicated to works of social justice and compassion toward those individuals who need added support with basic needs. That could be shelter, food. What we do is run a program that focuses around education, helping families and individuals, but families specifically at the shelter, to get themselves together, get back on their feet. We provide various educational classes, help them in rehousing searches and employment search, and build up their family strength so that they then can go on to live independently of the shelter and find permanent housing.
So you're empowering them, you're not taking
Absolutely.
care of them.
It's all about empowerment. We've actually rededicated the education program and really refer to it as empowerment with the little arrow toward the ME. It all has to start with us individually, no matter who we are. It has to be our decision. We have to feel good about ourselves, and that's what we want to do for our clients.
And speaking of the clients, can you just kind of give us an overview of the clients that you do have?
Absolutely. So while it's true that a large number of families that enter shelter tend to be single women, head of households with children, we actually have been experiencing a shift of families with 2 adults in the family. I'd say probably about 40% of our
Really?
our families at this time are 2-parent households. That said, we generally average around 50, 53 individuals in shelter at any given time, and with an average of about 32 children. That fluctuates all the time because when a family arrives at the shelter, we then immediately start the process of helping them find permanent housing. So one day we may have one number of clients, and then people move on and a new family enters. But we're at 100% capacity all the time.
And you have, what, 10 families there?
13.
13.
We have 13 families, and then we have our staff. We have case manager, rehousing manager that are working with and then residential staff that are constantly working with the clients to help them build up again.
And how long is a family typically there? I know some are there much longer, others not as long.
Right, yeah, so it can be days or weeks, or it can be up to a year or even longer. Each family has a separate set of circumstances. I would say an average would be around 9 months. 6 to 9. It's a little bit more difficult, as we all know. There's an extreme shortage of affordable housing, and when you've had to enter a shelter, it's very difficult then to start to get empowered and to have the income and the wherewithal to get on to permanent housing. So in this area, meaning the South Shore, Greater South Shore area, we service 22 communities. It's not easy to find housing, so it is taking a little bit longer than we would like, yeah.
Are a number of the people employed, unemployed?
We actually have several people right now that are employed. That's another, what we've done over the last year is expanded. We've created an education room that has computers. The adult clients have really used those computers in job search and housing search, which was the goal, in addition to homework use. And we have had people, I'd say we're probably close to 3/4 of the adults are working right now.
Great.
Yeah.
So you empower them, and through your services, could you speak a little bit to the services? You mentioned the education. I mean, do people come in and they have a plan? You
Absolutely.
establish a plan with them as to where they're going?
When a family enters shelter, right away, the case manager meets with them, probably the next morning. But they meet with them and they get to know each other. We go over rules, expectations.
And they have chores, don't they? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every family has chores just like you would at home. It can be kitchen cleaning, living room cleaning, bathroom care, but everyone has a chore, and that's how the shelter is cared for. So the case manager goes over all of these things with them, and then the conversation, first and foremost, we're a shelter. Yes, we provide educational programs for our clients, but housing is the driver on this. And you know, when I mention compassion and dignity, those are our drivers, because we want people to feel good about themselves and to know that we in fact do really care and are committed to their progress. So so then what happens is, if they have a job, or you know, we make sure the children are enrolled in school, all of that. So and then the rehousing piece would be, there's meetings that they would have with their case manager that will be strictly focused on rehousing. Every morning at the shelter, those clients in shelter that are not working have a 9:30 meeting with staff, and that's to kind of go over, okay, so where are you in your search? What do you need? What can we do to help you? Are there any doors we might be able to open, or here's some suggestions? So there's that piece.
And you do have a mental health piece, don't you, people who need counseling?
So we have we have 3 education programs. We have parenting, we have health, steps to a healthier you, and we have, I'm missing one, parenting, health, and
mental
nutrition.
Okay.
Nutrition, and components of the health class certainly would touch on some personal ways to be in tune with your own emotional health. We're in the process of putting in some support for the children to provide them with some guidance as they move through. Sometimes they need a little bit of extra help, and so we are expanding our Lila and Hendricks Teddy Bear Fund. We're expanding that to include some child psychology support.
Okay, so lastly, what can we do as a community? What individuals and groups
Right.
do to help you?
Right. So,
Help the residents.
So when it is involved with strictly the shelter, there's opportunities that would involve the education program, certainly. The health program has several different individuals that come in and do segments of that program. The nutrition class, we're always looking for, we do have a professor from UMass Amherst that comes in and teaches that class. But it's always nice to be able to say you have somebody else that can come in and add a segment to the class. So that's important. There's babysitting. We have Horizons for the Homeless that come in and babysit. They have a PALS program that they train their babysitters to be especially in tune to the needs of the homeless population. So that's an opportunity. Just in the actual building and facilities, that's another possibility. We put in ran a cooking class earlier in the fall, and that was very well received. We'd like to expand that and maybe tap into some of the local restaurants.
Right.
and bring in some chefs and have them demonstrate to the clients. It's proper nutrition, but it's easy to do.
Right. And I know there are 2 kitchens.
Yes.
Yeah, fully operational kitchens that are there.
We have 2 brand new kitchens that we put in last year, and they're large. They're made to accommodate 7 families each. So we're very proud of those, and the Cooking Matters class was very helpful for the clients, and we'd like to expand on that. So there's multiple ways that individuals can help at the shelter.
Okay. And there's also, just quickly, the food
Yes.
pantry and the in the shop.
Yes, the thrift shop
Thrift shop.
and the food pantry, multiple opportunities for groups to come in and help. We need it. We truly need it, and I can honestly say that requests for children's holiday fund support, requests for food pantry support. Emergency food boxes are going out at an exceptional rate, increased rate. We've experienced that the last 2 months, I'd say. We've really noticed a hike in that. And the thrift shop, we're really pleased to be able to offer what I feel is a very good quality shop that can help clients shop for their clothing or household items and in a very respectful manner.
Super.
Good.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we all hopefully have something to offer to someone in our community doing good, being altruistic this season. Certainly the homeless shelter is one venue to consider. So with that said, happy holidays, everyone, from the Kingston Board of Health. Stay well, stay healthy, stay happy. Thank you.